When it comes to engines, trucks seem to last forever while cars wear out quicker. Ever wondered why? Let's find out. First off, there's power density. Many diesel engines are upwards of 12 liters, while many of us drive 1.5 or 2 liter engine cars. Many of those large diesel truck engines only make 250 horsepower with lots of torque, of course, while many of our cars have about 150 horsepower with little torque. Some quick math shows that our cars are creating a whole lot more horsepower per liter of displacement. That means that our little engines are working harder and wear out faster, while the big diesel truck engines operate comfortably. Engine speed. Think about how fast the engine parts move in a car and a truck. The faster they go, the quicker they wear out. Cars often drive up high, especially on highways, which wears out the engines faster. But trucks, they're designed differently. Most truck engines are built to produce lots of power without spinning too fast. That means they don't wear out as quickly as car engines do. As piston speed increases linearly, cylinder wear increases exponentially. This essentially implies that the faster the engine spins, the quicker it wears out. Petrol engines typically rev over 2000 rpm while cruising on highways. On the other hand, many diesel engines don't even reach that mark at full throttle. They are engineered to generate substantial torque at lower engine speeds. Consequently, the wear on rings and cylinders occurs at a much lower rate compared to petrol engines. Size difference. When compared to the weight and size of car engines, truck engines are 6 times larger. Car engines on average can commonly hang in there for up to 2 lakh kilometers, but truck engines are made with a far different design in mind. Before a rebuild or an overhaul, it is not uncommon to see 10 lakh kilometers on a truck engine. Cold start. Highway diesel engines run for hundreds of kilometers per day. Petrol engines that are started once a day and driven 400 kilometers and then shut down will last quite a bit longer than the engines that you and I have in our daily commuter cars. The engine is started and warmed up once a day and then run all day long. Most of us drive only for a few miles to and from work. Our cars are started cold, driven a short distance and then shut down. Heat cycles create extra wear as parts expand and contract during these times. Highway diesels are subject to less of these conditions. Plus, they run cooler, which slows down the rate of expansion and contraction. Most of the wear and tear on engines, and particularly vehicles as a whole, is due to stop and go traffic. The repetition of braking, idling and then accelerating, then braking again puts more strain on the engine because inertia will make moving the car harder from stopped. The life of a semi-truck is mostly spent on the highway at a single speed and maintaining a pretty constant RPM. Trucks are driven for more than 10 hours a day with 90% of it being on the highway in their highest gear. This doesn't actually put a lot of strain on the vehicle. The truck can potentially only accelerate from stopped once a day and then carry this momentum from that point on until it runs out of fuel. This puts way less strain on the engine. Preventive maintenance. Diesel trucks are designed specifically to be repaired and rebuilt often. The cylinders are lined so you don't have to change the entire engine just for 6 liners, as well as the pistons, connecting rods and bearings in addition to your typical wear parts like injectors. In the end, you basically have a new engine without completely switching it. However, trucks for the most part do not live past 15 to 20 years. They are cycled often to keep repair costs down. Then there's the economic factor. It's cheaper to keep repairing the truck and running it longer than buying a new one. Let's compare buying a car for 5 lakh rupees to purchasing a truck for 50 lakhs. If the car's engine doesn't break down in the first 60,000 kilometers, it's likely to keep going for another 1,50,000 kilometers with proper maintenance. But along the way, you'll need to replace parts like the head gasket, clutch, bearings and water pump. These repairs add up and eventually rust might become an important issue too. At some point, fixing everything becomes too expensive. On the other hand, if you've invested 50 lakhs in a truck, then a 5 lakh rupee repair bill doesn't seem too bad when compared to buying a brand new one. Trucks are built to handle heavy use and can be worth repairing even if it costs a bit. At the end of the day, a lot of the wear and tear on an engine happens as it's starting up and the oil hasn't warmed up and spread around. Most cars are used for relatively short trips, so they spend a lot of time driving around before they're sufficiently warmed up. Long-haul trucks are usually driven hundreds of kilometers at a time, so they spend most of their time nicely warmed up and don't need to accelerate and decelerate as often. Any new car should be able to make it to at least 2 to 3 lakh kilometers if it's driven gently and maintained regularly, but very few cars are maintained properly or given time to warm up before driving.
Max Fresh Charcoal?